Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 70. This venerable one returns. Chu Wanning wasn't some weakling that just anybody could threaten. There was a flash of golden light. Mo Ran could have sworn he saw some kind of weapon in his hand, but it was gone in less than an instant, and both of Xiao Man's hands had already been sheared clean off. Wrists and all. Xiao Man screamed and stumbled backwards. He only had one usable leg left now that even his hands were gone. The hand seizing Chu Wanning dropped to the ground. Chu Wanning stood up, enraged, expression dark like never before. His lips moved slightly like he might say something, but in the end he seemed too angry for words and turned away instead, face ashen. Mo Ran hurriedly rushed over and pulled him into his arms. "Shidi, are you all right? Are you hurt anywhere?" In his arms, Chu Wanning only shook his head, too disgusted to speak. For all that, this Xiao Man in front of them was merely an illusion of someone who had once lived 200 years ago. Chu Wanning wiped the blood splatters from his face and said to Mo Ran in a low voice, "As you saw, staying here wouldn't be any safer for me than going out. There with you. I can take care of myself, won't slow you down." Mo Ran had heard about the little Shidi's skill from Xuemen before, but he had never seen it for himself until just now. It was, admittedly, quite eye-opening. "Sure, you're pretty impressive, but..." Chu Wanning pushed harder. "I'm also familiar with all kinds of weapons, so I can give you pointers from the side." "But..." Chu Wanning lifted his eyes. "Won't you trust in me just this once?" "Shikshan." He had meant to emphasize the sincerity of his words, but with this young, tender voice, it came out all softly adorable instead. Almost like he was acting cute. Chu Wanning was flabbergasted. Mo Ran blinked, then started rapidly scratching his head in confusion and going ah before burying his face in both hands. A long moment passed with his face in his hands before he said, see, I'm just worried that you 2 whole lives, and this was the first time a little one had called out this softly to him. Mo Ran really felt so close to him just now, as if they were brothers by blood. When he hated someone, he hated them to the bone, but to those he cherished, he was extremely tender. And so, when he finished clawing his head and finally looked back up at Chu Wanning from where he was crouched down, the tips of his ears turned red. If only he really did have a little brother, maybe it wouldn't have been so lonely. Unfortunately for Mo Ran, his reaction was noticed. Chu Wanning hesitated a little, then tried, experimentally, in a small voice, "Shij." Shij was an even more familiar form of address than Shikshan. Mo Ran braced his forehead against a hand, seriously at his limit. Chu Wanning glanced knowingly at Mo Ran and mentally filed away his weak point. Anyway, he was in a child's body right now, and Mo Ran hadn't the slightest idea who he actually was. There was nothing to be embarrassed about, so he opened his mouth again and out came a soft, sticky, "Ge. Gig." Mo Ran gig. "Ah. All right? All right? I'll take you, I'll take you." "Stop saying that." Mo Ran jumped to his feet, face bright red, rubbing the goosebumps on his arms. "All right, fine, come along then. You win, okay. You win." Heavens! Hands clasped behind his back, Chu Wanning tilted his head and said with a tiny smile, "Let's go then." As he walked leisurely toward the door, he could hear Mo Ran mumbling quietly from behind him. Where in heavens did he learn that from? "I nearly died from sugar overdose, holy crap." Chu Wanning was originally in a dreadful state of mind from what happened before with Chu Sun, but now he felt the gloom in his chest slowly lifting. Suddenly, he heard Mo Ran ask, "Oh yeah, what was Shidi going to say earlier?" Chu Wanning turned around and replied evenly, That. I forgot. If I remember it later, I'll tell Mo Ran Gig then." Stop. Don't say that one. Shikshan is fine. Shikshan is enough." Mo Ran waved his hands frantically. Chu Wanning's eyes were like a pair of deep puddles, the corners of his lips quirked with a hint of a smile. If you say so, Shizun. Anyway, I think the Ghost King will be showing up soon, since this illusion is based on the memories of survivors, and those survivors have left Linen by now, so the illusion probably won't last much longer. That makes sense. We should be able to get out once we defeat him, right? I'm going to find whoever it was that manifested the illusion and tried to kill us. Chu Wanning nodded. Fortunately for us, judging by the battle with Shizun earlier, this Ghost King isn't too strong. In fact, he might be the weakest among the 9 kings. Although the illusion has been manifested, it seems to me that whoever did it probably thought I was just an ordinary 6-year-old, and didn't expect me to actually be able to help take care of this. Mo Ran nodded along. Sounds about right. Chu Wanning continued, so, rather than saying that he tried to kill us, it would be more accurate to say that I was never part of the equation. He's actually only after Shizun. Mo Ran nodded even more vigorously. That seems to be. After we get out of here, Shizun must make sure to tell Shuemeng about this. Something is afoot at the Peach Blossoms Spring. We have to be careful from here on out. But let's not dwell on that for the time being. Shizun, please lead the way. I won't slow Shizun down. Chu Wanning's prediction was spot on. 3 in the morning, the massacre in the city was winding down. A bloody rift cracked open in the sky suddenly, green smoke pouring onto the wreckage and solidifying into the shape of a hunched-over man. The man's eyes were bright scarlet and his skin was ashen pale. Half of his body had flesh and skin, but the other half was stark, exposed bone. He stalked across the corpse-littered city with a black banner in tow, absorbing the pain and resentment of the newly deceased as he passed. Mo Ran looked at the man's face from where they were hidden. So it's him. There was a hint of relief in his voice. It was obvious to Chu Wanning why he sounded relieved, but he didn't intend to reveal himself just yet, and a 6-year-old can't know too much. So he looked up at Mo Ran with feigned cluelessness. What? You guessed right. The 9 kings of the ghost realm differ in strength and this one is indeed the weakest among them. Mo Ran watched the figure approach from behind a window, saying in a quiet voice, we lucked out. What does Shizun think our odds are? 90%. Always best to not be too overconfident, you know. Chu Wanning smiled a little. Of course he knew that the Skeleton King was the weakest of the 9 Ghost Kings, but strength was relative. With Mo Ran's age and experience, even with the holy weapon Jiangui at his side, going up against the Skeleton King alone was still pushing it a bit. Unfortunately for the person plotting against Mo Ran, the child by his side wasn't just any rookie from Shisheng Peak, but Chu Wanning himself. Help me. They were just about to burst out the door with a surprise attack when a weak voice called out from behind. Ah, he's still alive. Mo Ran's eyes were wide as he turned to look at Xiao Man curled up in the back. I don't want to die, Dad. I don't want to. Chu Wanning looked at the young man curled into a rumpled heap of rags and shook his head. Back then, this person had likely died as soon as he stepped in here, but he's still alive in this illusion probably because we happened to be here and killed the undead that were after him, so some things turned out differently. Sigh. If he hadn't defected, do you think that maybe Shizun wouldn't have died 200 years ago? That maybe Linen wouldn't just be a pile of ruins now? Maybe. But they both knew that, no matter what they did now, the past was the past. The important thing right now was to defeat the Skeleton King and get out of this illusion, and there was no reason to delay, so they charged out from their hiding place, killing everything in their way. Getting out of this illusion might be even easier than they had thought. Mo Ran knew exactly what he had to do, and engaged the Skeleton King without delay. But watching them face off, Chu Wanning felt a wave of uneasiness. It wasn't because Mo Ran was struggling, quite to the contrary, under his guidance, Mo Ran maintained a solid upper hand. But more and more, Chu Wanning felt that The person behind all this had planned everything out far too precisely. That is to say, that person had carefully assessed that it would be extremely difficult for just Moran and one other person of average skill to get out of this situation. But he also didn't use anything more deadly than this so as to not rouse any suspicions of foul play. His goal was to make it look like Moran died in a training accident. Who exactly was this person, to plan so meticulously against Moran's life? Was it really that fake Gushin from Jinjinj Lake? Chu Wanning watched the ferocious battle between Moran and the Ghost King. The longer it went on, the more Moran came out on top, and as the sky slowly lightened, the Ghost King's strength gradually waned. Victory was all but in hand. But just then, amongst that horde of undead and demons sealed behind Moran's spell, Chu Wanning suddenly saw the face of a living person. Who is it? Amidst the walking corpses, half of that person's face was shadowed beneath the hood of his cloak. From this distance, all he could see was a sharp chin, sweetly colored lips, and a gently curved nose. Just one look, and Chu Wanning could tell that this person didn't belong in the illusion of 200 years past. He wasn't in any kind of fighting stance, only shrouded under his hood, looking in Chu Wanning and Moran's direction. Seeing that Chu Wanning had noticed him, he smiled faintly, then lifted a hand and swept it across his neck in a kill gesture. Chu Wanning cursed under his breath and lunged to try and capture him. But that person only kept smiling, crimson lips and ivory teeth under his hood, and mouthed what looked like goodbye. Then he turned and disappeared. Stay right there. It was useless. The sky brightened, layers of fish scale clouds painting across it. The fight between Moran and the Ghost King ended with one final blow the very moment that Jiangui sheared the Ghost King's head clean off, sending foul blood flying everywhere. Their bodies were abruptly tossed up, and that sunrise of ancient linen from 200 years ago, the ruined wreckage of the city, all of it sped away in a blur. Thump. When Chu Wanning hit the ground again, he found himself back at the testing cave. Moran was also here, dropped on the ground next to him, covered in blood from the fight, but mostly not his own. He was laid out on the ground, clearly still too tired to get up, only gazing at Chu Wanning with those pitch-black eyes. A few moments passed, then he lifted a hand and gently poked Chu Wanning's forehead. We made it? Chu Wanning mn'd, but his expression was dark. I saw someone in there just now. What? It was probably the spellcaster. Moran rolled up, his eyes going wide. You saw him? You saw him. Did you see who it was? What did he look like? Chu Wanning shook his head, brows furrowed. He was wearing a hood, I couldn't see clearly. But based on the figure, he should be male, fairly young, thin, with a pointed chin. But he didn't voice the rest of his thoughts. He felt like this half of a face looked vaguely familiar, as if he had seen this person somewhere before, long ago. But he also couldn't shake the feeling that he might be mistaken. It was only half of a face after all, and there were plenty of similar-looking people out there, so he couldn't really be sure. He was deep in thought when he felt Moran pat him on the shoulder. Shidi. What is it? Look over there. Moran's voice was low, with a chill in it. Chu Wanning looked up in the direction he was pointing. It was 18. At the entrance to the testing cave, 18 hung from the ceiling, both eyes bulging outwards, the embroidered satin shoes on her feet swaying in mid-air. She was already dead, and there was no wind here. Judging by the angle of her body's sway, the murderer had just left. But the thing that turned their faces pale was the murder weapon wrapped tightly around her neck. It was a willow vine. With sharp, blade-like leaves, the vine coursed with a fiery red light that crackled, erupting with sparks that fell together with the drops of blood. Jiangui. The thing that strangled 18 and hung her from the roof of the cave was none other than the holy weapon Jiangui. End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 71. This venerable one was framed. Face ashen, Moran was in utter disbelief as he summoned the weapon that he had just put away a moment ago. Jiangui answered his call, appearing in his hand in a blaze of fiery light. Comparing the two, the weapon that killed 18 was practically identical to Jiangui, almost like a piece of it, save for the fact that it had no hilt. Could it be that there was a second Jiangui in this world? But before he could think on it, urgent footsteps approached at a rapid speed. Chu Wanning was more level-headed than Moran. He quickly assessed the situation and a chill flickered through his eyes. Moran, put Jiangui away. What? Too late. A group of people had already arrived at the entrance to the cave. There were people from the feathered tribe, cultivators from the various sects, even Xuemeng, Ye Wangzi, and Shi Mei were there. It was as if someone had noticed that something strange was happening here, and called just about everyone over in a hurry. And so, when everyone arrived one after the other, the sight that greeted them was that of 18, brutally murdered, the willow vine cutting into her neck, and behind her, Moran and a small child, battered from clearly having just fought a fierce battle, Moran covered in blood and holding Jiangui in hand, the willow vine coursing with a menacing, fiery light. No one made a sound. Until someone suddenly yelled, "Murderer!" The crowd began to clamor, panic, anger, and whispered words surging into a river, the drone of voices shaking the very bones. She's dead. Murderer. How vicious. Must be insane. Lunatic. Fragments of words were repeated over and over, the frenzied mob looking no different from the walking corpses in the illusion just now, and for a moment, Moran almost thought that the illusion was not yet over, that the nightmare still continued. Almost as if the blood spilled in linen 200 years ago still covered the ground. No, he took a step backward, throat dry. It wasn't me. He felt a tug on his clothes, and his step paused. Amidst the madness, he looked down and saw Chu Wanning's clear eyes. He murmured helplessly, "It wasn't me." Chu Wanning nodded and tried to shield him behind himself. But he was only a small child right now. What could he do? As he fretted, he felt Moran step forward. More and more people joined in on the shouting. Lock him up. The boy too. Grab them. Murderers. We can't let them get away, they're too dangerous. Hurry and grab them. Moran pulled Chu Wanning behind himself, blocking him from sight, then took a moment to breathe and collect himself. I didn't kill Miss 18. Please let me explain. The faces in the crowd looked blurry, overlapping with a memory from the past life that he couldn't bear to remember. He strained to see Xuemeng amongst the shadows in the crowd, his face filled with disbelief, and then he saw Shi Mei, eyes wide and face pale, his head shaking repeatedly. Moran closed his eyes and spoke in a low voice. I didn't kill her, but I don't plan to run away either. At least hear me out before you lock me up. But even so, no one wanted to listen to him. Anger and anxiety spread through the crowd. A high-pitched female voice yelled, "Why, you got caught red-handed, what even is there to say? That's right. Just toss them in lockup first. If it turns out they didn't do it, we can just let them out then. Lock them up. Lock them up." Xuemeng snapped out of his shock state. He stepped out from the crowd and stood in front of those angry, twisted faces with his back to Moran and raised his voice, "Everyone please calm down, I have something to say." "Who the hell are you? Why would we listen to you? Wait, isn't that the little phoenix?" "Little phoenix? You mean the darling of the heavens? That Xuemeng?" "That's him." Xuemeng's expression was terrible, nearly colorless. He took a deep breath and said, slowly, "Everyone, please listen. Both of them are disciples of Shizun Peak, and I can vouch that they absolutely wouldn't do something like murder an innocent person. So please calm down and let them explain first." A moment of silence, then someone yelled, "And why should we believe you? So what if they're Shizun Peak disciples? That doesn't mean you know their true nature." Exactly. There's no knowing what someone's really like, even if you're from the same sect. Xuemeng's expression grew even darker, lips pressed in a thin line as his hands clenched into fists. Behind him, Mo Ran stood with Chu Wanning in tow. Truth be told, he was surprised when Xuemeng came out in their defense. He hadn't exactly been close with this cousin of his in the past life, or rather, they could hardly even stand one another. And later, when he became the emperor of the human realm and burned, killed, and plundered as he liked, the two of them had naturally ended up on opposite sides of the battle. So he never expected that Xuemeng would stand with his back to him, facing the horde and all of their pointed fingers. Mo Ran felt warmth flood his heart. Xuemeng, you believe me? Yeah right, you damn mutt. Xuemeng's face turned slightly toward him as he huffed. Look at this mess you got into. Aren't you the older one? Why do I have to clean up after you? But after he got done cursing out Mo Ran, he whipped back around and started yelling at those people in an even more fierce tone. What? How would I not know them? One of them is my Shidi, and the other is my cousin. Who knows them better, me, or the lot of you? Xuemeng. Would it kill you lot to listen to a bit of explanation? With all these people here, it's not like they're going to grow wings and fly off if you just give them a couple of minutes. At this time, Shi Mei also stepped out, but his mannerisms were far too soft to be imposing and there was fright in his voice as he said, everyone, I can also vouch for them, they definitely wouldn't have hurt Miss 18, so please hear them out, thank you. Even Ye Wangzi stepped forward. Although he didn't vouch for them, he was much calmer than the rest of the agitated crowd. He said, even if it's a temporary detainment, they should still at least get the chance to explain and defend themselves. Otherwise, we might be letting the real killer off the hook. What if that person is amongst us as we speak, what then? At his words, the people in the crowd immediately started looking at one another with alarm in their eyes. Fine. We'll hear you out first. But we're still going to lock you up? Can't be too cautious, after all. Guilty until proven innocent. Mo Ran let out a breath and folded his hands against his forehead, and then, after a moment, actually smiled. Note, a gesture indicating gladness. I never would have thought that, surrounded on all sides, there would still be people willing to believe in me. Okay, even if I get locked up, just for you three, I won't be mad about it. He simply and briefly went over what had happened, from the manifestation of the illusion and the events that had transpired within, to finding 18 murdered upon exiting the illusion. Unfortunately, once a domain of fiends scenario has been overcome, a brand new illusion is created for the next person to enter, so there was no way to check if Mo Ran was telling the truth or not. But it did seem like a stretch for him to have come up with such an elaborate story in such little time if he was making it up. So by the time he finished, more than half the people in the crowd already seemed to be wavering. A higher up of the feathered tribe spoke quietly to her subordinate, then said, Mo Ran, Xia Sini, although the two of you have presented explanations, you have no evidence. For the safety of the Peach Blossoms Spring, we will have to detain you until the matter has been resolved. Mo Ran smiled helplessly, all right, I figured as much anyway. I won't complain too much as long as you feed me. That's a matter of course. She paused before continuing, henceforth, everyone please be on your guard to prevent any further accidents. All who did not arrive here in time will be questioned one by one to eliminate any suspicions. Furthermore, I will be informing the leaders of each sect, especially Shizun Peak, which is most heavily involved. If possible, I would like to invite your Shizun here for a chat. Shizun. Mo Ran's expression changed immediately. Chu Wanning stood quietly without a word. I don't want Shizun to come. Will my uncle do? Issues involving the disciple shall be reported to the master. This has always been the rule in the cultivation world. Is it different at Shizun Peak? No, but... Mo Ran scratched his head in frustration, letting out one sigh after another, but didn't know what to say. Issues involving the disciple shall be reported to the master, of course that made sense. But even just thinking about Chu Wanning's indifferent face and those crisp, cold eyes, and Mo Ran was already certain that if he were to come, he'd definitely just give him a dressing down first and foremost, regardless of right or wrong. He'd rather not see him at all. But no matter what he said, there was nothing he could do. Both he and his little Shidi got locked up. The lockup at the Peach Blossom Spring was a cave, not very big but also not too small. Its entrance covered by ancient brambles that only listened to the commands of the feathered tribe. The inside never saw the light of day, but thankfully there was a fire pit with enchanted flames that burned continuously. The furnishings inside were simple: a wide, plain bed of stone padded with golden red cushions made of woven feathers, a stone table and 4 stone stools, 1 copper mirror, and a couple sets of bowls and cups. Mo Ran and Chu Wanning were imprisoned here together. Although judgment had yet to be passed, the one in charge of them seemed to have been close with 18. 18 lost her life for no reasons at all, so the feathered tribe guard took it out on them by making their lives more difficult. On the first night, the guard still knew to deliver some food. It wasn't great or much, but there was enough to eat. However, by the second day, there were only some raw meat, vegetables, rice, flour, and salt tossed casually into the cave, along with something about not having the time to take care of their meals and to sort it out themselves. Fine, we'll sort it out ourselves then. It's just cooking, what's so hard about that? Mo Ran muttered huffily from where he was crouched on the ground, picking out the usable ingredients. What does Shidi want to eat? Whatever. Sigh, there's no dish more difficult to cook than the one called whatever. Let's see here, we have pork belly, Napa cabbage. Tisk, this bird sure is stingy, it's only the outer layers of the cabbage. There's quite a bit of rice and flour, but not sure how many days this is supposed to last us for. He muttered while counting the ingredients, then looked up at Chu Wanning. Do you want rice or noodles? Chu Wanning was resting on the bed, tummy down. He thought about it, then said, noodles. A pause, then he added, soup noodle with spare ribs. Ahaha, where am I going to get spare ribs from? Then whatever's fine. Mo Ran sat cross-legged on the ground, one hand on his knee, cheek squished against the other, and thought for a bit before saying, there's not many ingredients here, how about noodles with minced meat? Noodles with minced meat. Would you like that? Sure. Is it spicy? Mo Ran grinned, there isn't even a shadow of a pepper in what that bird gave us. With dinner decided, Mo Ran set about kneading the dough. Chu Wanning was short and not that strong, so he didn't even bother trying to make a pretense of helping. He watched Mo Ran knead that soft, white ball of dough from where he lay in bed, gaze growing softer. He suddenly felt that this wasn't bad after all. Mo Ran didn't know who he was, so he could stay by his side just like this, and when Mo Ran cooked, he would bother to ask what he wanted to eat. It really wasn't bad. He even felt a little uneasy, as if he had been given too much, as if he had stolen it all from a child named Xiaosini. Mo Ran finished cooking the noodles and put the stir-fried mincemeat on top. They had pitifully few seasonings, so he couldn't really make anything fancy, but the noodles were pulled to a chewy consistency at just the right softness, and he had cut off the fatty part of the pork to fry the meat in. The mince sizzled as it was poured over the noodles. It'll be delicious mixed in. Shidi, dinners. He looked up to find that Chu Wanning had fallen asleep, still lying tummy down like before, face turned to the side with his head pillowed on his arms, long eyelashes resting against his cheeks, expression peaceful. Ready, he finished in a mumble, then walked over to the bed and stroked Chu Wanning's smooth, inky hair. Looking at you like this, you really do look like Shizun. I wonder what the relationship is between you, Shizun, and the Chu family of linen, and also, just who exactly is after us? Sigh. Wonder what Shizun's up to right now. If he knew what had happened here, would he blame me again regardless of all else? At that, the color in Moran's eyes darkened a little as he played with a strand of Chu Wanning's hair around his finger, sighing faintly. You don't know him, but anytime anything happens, he always gives me hell. He really doesn't like me at all. But Chu Wanning was asleep, and these words scattered weightlessly into the silence of night without an answer, just like the misunderstandings coiled around them for decades and decades across 2 lifetimes. Moran waited for the noodles to cool down a bit before waking Chu Wanning up. Shidi, dinner's ready. Chu Wanning covered a yawn and blinked blearily. Oh, dinner. Moran carried the noodles over. He liked to cook, but hated doing the dishes, so just for the sake of having one less dish to wash, he had put the noodles directly into the pot he fried the mincemeat in. Chu Wanning was flabbergasted at this unorthodox and uncultured way of eating, his eyes wide as he stared disbelievingly at the big pot of noodles. How are we supposed to eat this? Together, of course. Moran handed him a pair of chopsticks and was already putting his hands together with a grin. The race to see who can scoop out more noodles is just about to begin. Who's gonna get to eat more? We're about to find out. Moran laughed gleefully, his eyes curved into little crescents. Chu Wanning stared at him a little. It's almost like, as long as you have food, you're very, very happy, right? MN. Haha, food is the most important thing, after all. Moran said, then cheekily scooped up a big clump of noodles for himself, slurping it all up until his cheeks were puffed out. It doesn't look great, but it's pretty tasty. Chu Wanning's expression was dark. Don't slurp while eating. Ha ha ha. Moran laughed, slapping his leg. How is a little boy like you this much like my Shizun? He also told me to not slurp, but you know what? Once, when I was eating with him, I purposefully threw a bone in his bowl, and he got so mad. Ha 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 ha. Chu Wanning grit his teeth, impudent. Yeah. That reaction exactly, how did you know? Even the delivery was just like him. Hey Shidi, seriously, I think you two might be distant relatives. Why don't you ask Shizun about it when he gets here? Oh wait, not the egg, the egg's mine. End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Chapter 72. This venerable one stews soup. At night, the two of them lay on the wide stone bed. Trying to pass the time while locked up was a task in and of itself. They had already trained and eaten, and now there was nothing else to do. Chu Wanning, calm and tranquil by nature, wasn't all that bothered, but Moran paced this way and that in the constricted space of the cave, and time only seemed to crawl even slower. I'm so bored, what to do? What to do? Chu Wanning, with his eyes closed, sleep. But it's still so early. Moran glanced at the hourglass and shook his head, way too early. Chu Wanning ignored him. Moran rolled about on the bed, then suddenly scooted over and pulled his cheek. Shidi. Chu Wanning's eyes flew open angrily. What do you want? Moran took his hands in his own and swung their joined hands back and forth shamelessly. Play with me. Am I the Shidi here, or you? Chu Wanning wrenched his hands back, beyond irate. Who's gonna fool around with you? Moran smiled sweetly, truly, and completely shameless. You, of course. Who else is there? Chu Wanning. Moran took off the narrow red cord holding his hair up, tied the ends together, and wove it around his fingers into a distinct pattern. Despite his protests, Chu Wanning sat up after all, asking grumpily, what is this? How do you play it? It's called cat's cradle. Mostly girls play it, not so much boys, but I grew up in an entertainment house full of girls, so I ended up learning it too. It's pretty fun actually. See, Hook your finger around this string here. No, not that finger, use your pinky, yeah, like that. Then take your thumb and forefinger and hook around these two strings here, Moran instructed slowly and patiently. The candle flame crackled, casting its warm light on them, one big and one small, their heads lowered in concentration as they passed that loop of red string made from a hair tie back and forth, both their expressions slowly softening. Chu Wanning held segments of the string taut between his fingers as he followed Moran's instructions to weave a new pattern, but accidentally missed a string, so rather than turning into the new pattern when it exchanged hands, the red string returned instead to its original shape of being just a simple loop. He stared at it blankly, hands still held in mid-air, face full of incomprehension as he muttered, "Why did it fall apart? What happened? Haha, you probably just missed a string again. Again. No more, no more." Moran laughed, "The same thing over and over gets boring, let's do something else." No, now it was Chu Wanning's turn to be displeased. One more time. They spent 3 days in the cave. Their 4th night there, and Moran was busy making preparations to cook something delicious for Chu Wanning as usual. He had figured some things out during these last few days together. His little Shidi truly was from the same place as Shizun, they even had the same exact tastes in food. Tonight's delivery from the feathered tribe guard was a hen and a couple of mushrooms. Moran planned to make chicken soup with mushrooms, then add in some of his handmade noodles, and it shouldn't taste too bad. "Are we having chicken soup tonight?" Moran answered, glancing to the side at Chu Wanning. The boy was a genius in the martial arts, yet simply couldn't get a grasp on cat's cradle. But he was also stubborn to a fault and would play around with a hair cord trying to figure it out every chance he got. Moran couldn't help smiling at that mulish look of his. Moran said with a smile, "Feel free to play with it while I cook, but I'm afraid the soup's gonna finish stewing before you work it out." Chu Wanning let out a cold humph, and paused before saying, "Is there any ginger left?" "Let me see." "Yep, there's plenty, they gave us a bunch yesterday." Chu Wanning sounded satisfied, "Put some in, it gets rid of the raw meat smell." Moran stroked his chin, "Oh. And let me guess, add some wolfberries too." Chu Wanning's eyes brightened, "Do we have some?" "Of course not, I was just thinking that your tastes really are just like Shizun's. He also likes ginger and wolfberries in his soup. You remember what he likes to eat?" "Haha, yup, I'm super clever." Moran didn't feel like explaining, and it's not like he could talk about things like past lives with his little Shidi anyway, so he rolled with it. "I'm a perfect model of a filial disciple following the standard of the 24 filial exemplars, don't you know? It's just too bad that Shizun doesn't see my heartfelt sincerity." Moran began cleaning the chicken as he talked absently, and thus completely missed Chu Wanning's expression. He plucked it and removed the innards with a quick, practiced hand, and was just about to boil the blood out when he heard little Shidi say in a quiet voice, "He isn't necessarily unaware." "What?" Seeing Moran look up, the tips of Chu Wanning's ears turned red. He turned away and cleared his throat. "I said, Yuheng Elder isn't necessarily unaware that you're good to him." "Oh, that. It doesn't really matter, I'm already used to it anyway. Even though I did wish, once, that he would be like other people's masters and ask after me sometimes, or that he'd occasionally know MT preferences like how I know what he likes to eat. But that's all in the past now. When I first entered the sect, I was fooled by his pretty looks and thought he was a gentle person. Thinking back on it now is really. Sigh, my esteemed Shizun is so illustrious and unapproachable, and busy on top too, how could I possibly dare to hope for his attention?" "Ha ha, ah ha ha ha." Chu Wanning was a little angry at his words at first, but then he thought about it, and although he was concerned about Moran in their daily life, he did indeed always maintain a veneer of aloofness and distance. He hung his head wordlessly, anger turned into consternation instead. After a while, he hopped off the bed and walked quietly over to Mo Ran. "What's up? You're always the one cooking. Today's dish is simple, so I'll cook for you instead." Mo Ran blinked, then smiled. "Where did this come from? You're too short to even reach the stove, how are you going to cook? Besides, I'm your Shikshan, since you've called me that, the least I can do is feed you." Chu Wanning carried a stool over and climbed onto it, then stared at him stubbornly without a word. "Mo Ran, why are you glaring at me? I can reach the stove just fine. Yu Heng elder may not know what you like to eat, but I'm not heartless like him." Chu Wanning said expressionlessly, "Go take a break, I'll cook." And so Chu Wanning busied himself with dinner preparations, refusing to let Mo Ran help at all. There was an aura of menace and a concentrated ferocity in his eyes as he lifted the kitchen knife high into the air and brought it stiffly down on the poor chicken. Mo Ran almost couldn't bear to look. Mo Ran tried to help, but even the little Shidi's temper was just like Shizun, and hated getting interrupted when he was concentrating on something. So in the end, Mo Ran could only scratch his head and wander off to go plop into bed. Having finally put the chicken into the pot, Chu Wanning covered it with a clay lid and was just about to turn and say something to Mo Ran when he heard a quiet voice from the cave entrance. "Ran, Shizun, are you there?" As soon as he heard this voice, Mo Ran immediately jumped off the bed as if struck by lightning and dashed to the entrance. Through a gap between the brambles, the first person he saw was someone from the feathered tribe standing there coldly, but then he looked around and found Shi Mei behind her, dressed in his usual whites and face full of worry. Mo Ran was ecstatic. "Shi Mei. What are you doing here? I have something important to tell you." Shi Mei said. Sect leader received the report and rushed over to the Peach Blossom Spring at once. "He's making negotiations with the feathered tribe as we speak. How have you been? Are you being treated all right?" "I'm great, eating well, drinking well and jumping around too." Mo Ran paused, then asked, "What about Shizun? Where is he? I heard he's still in seclusion and didn't come." "Oh," something flickered past Mo Ran's eyes, then he sighed and mumbled to himself, "It's fine if he didn't come. It's fine." But Suanji elder came to vouch for Shizun. Shi Mei asked, "Is Shizun already asleep?" Mo Ran, "No, he's making soup." "Shidi, come over here." Chu Wanning put down the little bamboo fan he was using to fan the flames and walked over to the entrance. He looked at the two people outside, expression not the least bit surprised, and said flatly, "What is it?" Shi Mei didn't even get a chance to speak before that feathered tribe person humped and shot back, "What else could it be? People from your Shizhung Peak came. Your master says he'll vouch for you, and is meeting with our great immortal lord right now." "My master? Suanji elder? Oh." Chu Wanning paused, face totally expressionless. "Good." The corner of the feathered tribe person's mouth twitched. "You two can come out. Everyone is already gathered at the Duzip pavilion waiting to hear your explanations." Chu Wanning turned to look at the chicken soup on the stove and said, "I'll pass. The soup isn't done cooking yet. I have to keep an eye on it." "Mo Ran, you can speak for me." Hearing his words, the feathered tribe person thought him to be an immature, unreasonable child and smiled coldly, trying to scare him. "You'll miss your chance to defend yourself if you don't go. And if you get judged to be the murderer, there goes your head." But Chu Wanning wasn't even concerned, a face of indifference as he shot her a cold glance and turned to leave. Shi Mei was about to call out after him, but Mo Ran shook his head with a smile. "Let him be, I'll go." But Suanji elder came all this way, it would be rude to not greet him. Before Mo Ran could say anything, Chu Wanning's voice came from afar, "Mo Shikshan, please send Shizun my regards." Shi Mei had said it so quietly but it still got heard. Feeling a little awkward, he cleared his throat and waited for the feathered tribe person to open the brambles covering the cave entrance, then immediately grabbed Mo Ran to leave. Unexpectedly, Chu Wanning turned around just then and called, "Shizun. Did Shidi change his mind and want to come along after all?" Mo Ran smiled. Chu Wanning's little hand waved in his sleeve, "Of course not. I just wanted to remind you to come back soon, or the soup will go cold." Mo Ran blinked and then laughed helplessly, "All right, wait for me." And Chu Wanning said nothing else, watching Mo Ran walk away and disappear behind a corner before turning back around to attend to the soup. The Duzip Pavilion wasn't far from the lock-up cave. On the way there, Shimei asked offhandedly, "Ran, you seem to have grown even closer with Shishidi these days." Mo Ran smiled, "Yeah, we went through a lot together." "What, is Shimei jealous of a little boy?" "Nonsense. Ha ha ha, no need to worry, my favorite person is and will always be Shimei." "Stop talking nonsense, I just feel like Shishidi is a little odd." "Odd? Oh," Mo Ran thought for a bit, then nodded, "I guess he is pretty odd." "You think so too?" "Yup." Mo Ran grinned, "He's such a little thing but talks just like an adult, and his abilities are no joking matter either. Oh, and I haven't gotten a chance to tell anyone yet, but the stuff that happened in the illusion was even more bizarre. I think he might be a distant relative of our Shizun, you know." Shimei's eyes shifted slightly and he asked, "Why do you say that?" "We saw someone in the illusion, the son of the linen governor from 200 years ago. His surname was also Chu, and looked just like Shizun, and his son also looked." Just when he was getting to the important part, a sudden burst of loud cursing came from the front. He looked up just in time to see Shuemeng striding over with a thundercloud on his face, still cursing without stop, "Bastard, beast. Shameless mutt." End chapter.